Town of Dewey Beach Budget and Finance Committee meeting for November 14th. I believe we've posted the agenda for everybody to see. So I will start and convene the meeting. First thing I'd like to do is to start with, sorry, there's something on the screen here. Start by doing a roll call so we know who's in the meeting right now, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance after that. So I'm Dan Hirschfeld. I am the chair.
I'll do Zeke Rogoski. Go ahead, Dan.
But Zeke, you said you were saying you're there?
Yeah, Zeke's here.
Okay.
And then Dominic Prestipino here, committee member.
Okay.
Fred Townsend, town solicitor.
Bill Zolper, town manager.
John Gephardt, committee person.
Paul Bauer, commissioner liaison.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and start with that, and let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of
the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay. So we also had published and distributed to the committee minutes from the last 3 meetings. So I will do each one of these individually. So did the committee have a chance to review the meeting minutes from January, the draft meetings from January 31, 2023?
Yes.
Yes.
Any comments, changes, additions to those minutes?
No, sir.
None.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the draft committee meeting minutes from January 31, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Also distributed were the February 14th, 2023 minutes. They were the draft minutes. Has the committee has received those? Any questions, comments, or additions by the committee?
No, sir.
Nope.
Okay. If no questions, comments, or anything, how about, can I get a motion to approve the draft February 14, 2023 meeting minutes?
Make a motion to approve the 14 February meeting minutes.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Unanimous. Also distributed were the minutes from October 17, 2023 in draft form for review by the committee. Any questions, comments, changes, additions by the committee members?
No, sir.
Nope.
Okay. No questions, comments. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Your
So
turn.
moved.
I'll motion.
Okay.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 I would ask for opposed, but since we know the number of committee members. We're good. All right, so we're good with those draft minutes from January 31, 2023, February 14, 2023, October 17, 2023 being presented and approved. Next agenda item is to discuss and possibly vote to ratify the Budget and Finance Committee meeting from October 17 and make a recommendation to the town council. We had this discussion during that meeting, and you see on the agenda here, I'll read it to you. There was a discussion of making a recommendation to the extent the annual income exceeds required set-asides and the unassigned fund is at its obligation, the town manager at their discretion may transfer excess dollars into the capital expenditures account. And B on that is the ability to, let's just do that one first.
Yeah.
So that we had discussed that during the October 17th meeting. And I just want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with this recommendation. If there are any comments or any other thoughts with regard to it, prior to asking if there's a motion. Any comments or questions about this?
Yeah, can Fred weigh in on this?
Hold on. You guys do have public comment. Do you want to take those first?
Fred, what's the order? Should we take comments before the committee members or from the public?
I think anytime before the vote is taken would be an appropriate time to take comment, given the action item reference in the agenda that public comment will be permitted. So you could hear from me now, or you could hear from anyone who wishes to speak.
Why don't we do
as a-
do the public comment, and then you can make some comments after that.
That's fine with me.
We do have a gentleman here in person. If we can let him go first, that would be okay.
Okay.
Sir, you'll need to come up here, state your name and where you live. We'll turn the mic on.
My name is Jim Deegan, live on Hayden Road. My question to the committee is, it appears that this item is going to remove money from set-asides in excess of being collected and goes into the capital budget. So if it's set aside for the pipe down in Reed Street, or if it's set aside for any other projects, we're going to delay that project because we got to move that money to other capital funds. Is that what I'm hearing here in this item?
Oh, I can address it, all right? You can, but the answer is no. So the way the recommendation works is with the revenues, there are, I believe the word is mandatory set-asides that we are required to do. So those set-asides would be done. And then to the extent that there is excess funds, that's what we are directing or giving some discretion to the town manager to use to put in the capital expenditures, not to put it the positive. You must always meet the obligations of the current set-asides. So it's not diverting any funds or using those in any way.
How would you have excess set-asides though?
So at the end, so could I answer that, Dan?
Please, yes.
Sir. So at the end of the year, after all the set-asides are met, if there is extra money at the end of the year, above what we thought we were going to bring in on our budget, let's say there was an extra $50,000. There was an extra $50,000 at the end of the year. Instead of that going back just into the general fund, we would take that and at that time possibly use it for capital expenditures.
Are those expenditures predetermined, or are they at the discretion of the mayor?
So the expenditure,
Or the discretion of the town manager?
so the expenditures will be put in the budget. And so if there's extra money at the end, they'll be used to pay for those items that are in the budget. So for example, if an expenditure is,
Let's say it's police, we just hired 8 police officers. So if we did not have the money for that, does then the excess of that go to pay for the police officers?
no, that's in the budget. We hired 3 police officers, new police officers,
Right, okay. Which brings the total up to 8, correct?
total of 13.
Right.
So you'd have to meet all your financial obligations, right? So you paid all your expenses, you've done your set-asides, and now there is cash left over. And we are discussing what you do with the cash left over.
Gives us the option to pay for capital.
But again, it doesn't appear that you're discussing, it appears that the town manager has full discretion. Isn't that what this item is? That you don't have any input, the town commissioners don't have any input, it's the full discretion of the town manager?
That is the way it is written right now, that the town manager at their discretion may use this and set aside for capital expenditures. So he's not spending the money, he's putting it in the capital expenditures fund.
So one person in the entire town is dictating where this money is supposed to go,
No. and
based
as
on
a-
this?
As a previous commissioner, the town manager serves at the leisure of the commission. So I believe Mr. Zoper would make a recommendation to put the money towards this, or this. The town council would say, if I'm correct, Paul, that yes, that would be appropriate, or no, we would have other places.
But that's not what this says.
But you have a point of contact versus a box of puppies. I mean, you can throw it out to say the whole town, let's do this with the money, and you're going to get 450 different answers. Here you have a person you can funnel the question through, and then he goes to the town council with it. Wouldn't that be a better way to do something rather than?
Well, it would be a bet to have one person decide that for the entire town, I don't think is the proper way.
One person is the person who's the point of contact to go to the council. The council will approve what is recommended by the town manager.
Hey, folks, I don't want to cut this short, but public comment is public comment. It's not a public debate. We'll be happy to meet with you in person, Mr. Deegan, and discuss your concerns. But in the spirit of having this meeting publicly, we need to take all public comment, not have a back and forth for extended periods. There's 3 minutes of public comment allowed based on our policies. So is there anything else you'd like to add, sir?
Is there anything else, sir?
No, my 3 minutes was cut off. Thank you, Mr. Bauer.
Sorry about that.
If I could add a comment as well, I hope that Mr. Deegan understands that this is a recommendation that is going to the council, as I understand it. And there'll be an opportunity for him to speak to it at that time as well. Is that not correct?
Correct.
I mean, if there's a problem with the language here under number 1A, to the extent of the annual income exceeds required set asides and the unassigned funds, that it's obligation of town manager to discretion to transfer excess dollars into the capital expenditure account. You may add somehow, Dan, maybe to the town council. The town manager will make these recommendations to transfer the funds per approval of the town council.
Subject to town council approval.
Would that make your more clarified?
Correct. As long as one person is not making that decision, is what it should be here.
Understood. Understood. And Dan, I'll be happy to meet with you personally and discuss your concerns on this.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Thank you.
Jim, you mean Jim?
I'm sorry, Jim.
Yeah. Fred, did you want to make some comments as well?
Sure. I think what is odd or unusual about this circumstance is that you're being asked to revisit an issue that you acted on at a previous meeting, I think in October. I think items A and B represent votes or actions that you took in October of this year. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, so they're back on the agenda because we received a concern from a member of the public who questioned whether the language in the agenda item on the October 17th agenda was adequate. And I think as a precaution, we put it back on the agenda. But in my opinion, that language that appeared in the October 17th agenda was adequate because the operative language said that the committee was to provide recommendations to town council. And in my view, that implies that the committee was going to vote to make those recommendations because that's the only way the committee can act is through a vote. I don't think that FOIA requires in every instance that the words vote always appear. I think you may find in the future that your agendas will include a phrase that begins with discuss and possibly vote. That's probably the preferred language, but the language that was in the agenda on October the 17th, I think advised the public adequately that the committee was intending to make recommendations to the town council. So that's why I feel like there was no necessity to make any changes to the minutes or negate the action that was taken. But since you've got this meeting, a decision was made to go ahead and ratify those recommendations, and that's why they're on the agenda a second time.
Got it. Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
my understanding from the note that I saw was that a member of the public wants to comment on 1B, which we haven't reached yet.
Yeah, it looks like he did comment again that he wanted to comment for A. So David Moskowitz is on Zoom.
Yes, David Moskowitz, full-time resident. What the member of the public had spoken about is exactly the issue. It says per the town manager at their discretion. And you could add the town manager at their discretion and they need to go to the town commissioners. But then just a question, that's what's already done now. So why even have this agenda item? But if you do vote, it should be, the town manager should be going to the town commissioners because the town commissioners are publicly elected and they're the people's voice. And you shouldn't have an unelected bureaucrat just making all the decision. You should have that one person going to the town commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? So for the committee members, and Fred, help me here, are there any committee members want to, are we ratifying this? Do the committee members want to modify the language to clarify that it is, I'm sorry, subject to the town council approval?
So I think you have options available to you. So you can either ratify the action as written, or you can you can ask for a motion to modify the language in some fashion. If you elect to move the ratification of the language, I think you can, your minutes and these comments can be discussed with council or brought to council's attention, that there was some discussion over whether or not additional limitations should be placed on the town manager's discretion so as to require authorization from town council. So you have 2 or 3 options there available.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm okay with ratifying what we have, and then Paul being liaison to the town council can make sure that the town council knows that the intent here was understanding the town manager is supervised and given directions by the town council. So I don't know that we need to clarify that. I mean, I think that's probably.
Yeah, I'll weigh in on this. I mean, anything the committees do get referred to commissioners for approval. So if you said, hey, I want to give town manager full authority to do anything he wants, the commissioners still have to vote on that. So these are all recommendations that are being made. No votes that happen in this meeting go into effect until the commissioners approve it. So it's a moot point in my mind, but I'm up to being swayed that it's something different. But correct me if I'm wrong, Fred.
No, that's the way I view it.
So members of the committee, other thoughts, comments?
No, I agree. I think it's just implied that it's, waiting per approval of town council. So I'm okay leaving it the way it is too.
John or Zeke?
I'm good.
Okay, then do I have a motion to ratify the recommendation that was made during the October 17th meeting? And I'll read the first one. To the extent the annual income exceeds required set-asides, the unassigned fund is at its obligation. The town manager at their discretion may transfer excess dollars into the capital expenditure account. So do I have a motion to ratify that recommendation to the town council?
I'll make a motion that we ratify as stated in paragraph A to the town council.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous then. The second is a similar topic, obviously. So this was back to the October 17th meeting where we were discussing a recommendation to grant the town manager the authority to increase the fees and licenses for each line item up to 20% before commissioner intervention for each fiscal year. And Fred, based on what we just talked about again, I think what we'll do is, unless there are questions or comments by the committee, I call for a motion to ratify this recommendation from the October 17th meeting.
You can call for a motion at any time. I would recommend that you invite the public to
Okay,
speak
good-
to
Sorry,
this.
yep, good point, sorry. So I do invite the public. Is there any public comment on this section?
Yes, I'd like to speak again about this.
Can we have the in-person, this gentleman in person, we'll have him go first?
Again, with all due respect to Commissioner Mr. Ballard, you're giving this gentleman here before commissioner intervention, a 20% increase in all fees. 20%, not 5, not 10, 20% fees. So I don't understand why the commissioner would give that much authority before intervention. You're the elected officials that represent us. That's my comment.
And David Moskowitz is on Zoom, would also like to make comment.
Okay, David?
Yeah, so I don't think any of you considered how much 20% a year is. It's 300% over a 6-year period and 600% over 10 years. So the town manager could take parking and turn parking from $3 an hour to $9 an hour over 6 years. And I also believe that the Dewey Beach Charter prohibits the practice of what the town manager is requesting. Again, it's just like the gentleman said with the other public comment, you're taking what the commissioners now have, because what happens is the town manager now has to go to the commissioners for approval, and you're proposing to take that away and just have the town manager just do stuff by fiefdom. What should be happening is the town manager needs to present any fees that they believe should be increased, and each fee reviewed and recommended to the town commissioners, not an end run. If you look at the fee schedule, some of them are percentages, so you're saying that should increase by the 20% a year? I mean, that's just insane. Imagine you had a dentist office and raised prices 20% a year. That dentist would be out of business. And the restaurants had the fees increased on them 28% last year. So think about all the restaurants, the fees could go up 20% a year. The process that's been around Dewey for the last 45 years, and I mean, I think one or two of you are new and perhaps from New Jersey, is the town manager will propose something, it goes to the budget committee, and then it goes to town commissioners for final approval. It's a public process and everyone has their say. What you're proposing would actually change that. So I just don't understand why you would do that. It's just wrong, and it's not the way Dewey operates.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, so committee members, any comments or questions?
Yeah, it seems like I've got this long letter from one of the gentlemen that just spoke, and it's always the worst case scenario. The sky is falling, the piano's gonna knock me down on stage. You're gonna kick my dog, all this stuff. 20% of a $3 an hour parking, worst case scenario, is 60 cents. Nobody says that the town manager or council has to accept 20% right off the bat, so that we're talking 600% in a 9-year period. We don't have to raise things all the time. I don't remember if there were 20 or so odd different fees that we thought at the last meeting that the town manager could look at to possibly raise. That doesn't mean he's going to do it. That doesn't mean it's going to be 20% if he does it. And that doesn't mean town council is going to accept 20% if that's a recommendation. So the sky is falling, Chicken Little attitude, it kind of just makes me chuckle up here that, yeah, somebody took a lot of time to write a lot of stuff, but it's the worst case scenario. So
Can I make a rebuttal to that?
If my understanding is correct, and this goes as to both A and B, both are subject to town council approval. So I don't see any change here from what has been in the past, the procedure.
Further, I think we're not giving him authority we're saying do 20% increases. He has a fiduciary responsibility as his role as town manager to prudently manage the business subject to the direction of the town council. So he's not, at liberty to do everything, and it would be very foolish and irresponsible for him to go ahead and do something that the town can't economically afford.
Jarvis
So
Ledford.
I
if you're
know,
in the
there's-
area, please come see me at the podium at Jarvis
Sorry, I'm at
Ledford.
the airport, obviously. Delayed my flight so I could do this, do this call. So I agree with you, John. I mean, this is a recommendation. The town council is going to always weigh in on it. I believe the town manager in their role and responsibility has a fiduciary responsibility and needs to be responsible to, the budget as well. So
If anything, I think what's causing the protest is the actual language of these recommendations. But then again, once again, it's the town council that's going to decide, how this, will move ahead. And basically implicit the procedure, again, looks to be following past years and ultimately always is subject to town council approval.
any other comments by committee members? Okay.
We have some feedback.
Well, for David's comment, I mentioned last time that we could do and I don't necessarily think it's necessary because we talked about it last time, but you could put in the verbiage saying that if the town, wanted to increase the same subject area, more than 3 years in a row at 19%, then it could come to this committee for review again. And that kind of helps with what he's saying, but I don't necessarily think it's necessary, but we could do that if it appeased everyone. Where it'd be if they're trying to increase park by 19% for 3 years in a row, the fourth year it has to come to our review. But I'm not saying that's a solution, but it's something that could be helpful.
But it doesn't say this parking. You made Mr.
I'm just making that as an example, yeah.
I know, but Mr. Prisbach, he said 60 cents. That's great, but how about what's the cost of a permit to build an addition?
I'm sorry, if it's, is
Yeah.
that public comment? I don't know if they have to, again, go to the podium or announce it.
$20, not 60 cents.
So if Mr. Deegan wants to be heard by those of us who are following remotely, he's going to need to take the microphone.
I can understand Mr. Prisbach's comment about 20% on $3.60. The sky is not falling. Unfortunately, that's one of the very small fees. And so when you ask for an addition onto your house and you get a building permit, 20% of $100 is $20. Now it's $120. And that could go up to $24 next year and so forth. You say that it's understood, but right here in the sentence, it says before commissioner intervention. It's in your language. It doesn't say it goes to the commissioners. It says he can do 20% and the commissioners don't have to be notified.
So may I ask a question? Is the language for each line item not important? Is that the language that is limiting in that this relates to budget preparation and that the budget is always approved by the council and not by a committee? Is that the significance of that language for each line item?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by the significance of it, but yes, I mean, the budget's always approved by the town council. We don't have the authority to do that. And again, this is not saying increase rates by 20%. This is given the authority to be responsible as a town manager to look at the various line items that are in there and make professional fiduciary recommendations to the town council that they can approve or deny when they review and approve the budget.
So it's part of the budget process. It's not part of the lawmaking process, if you will.
Agreed,
If-
yes.
If I understand the underlying policy correctly, the point here is that the town manager, who professionally oversees the budget and all its workings every day, has a lot better idea of what fees would be appropriate to be increased than the Budget and Finance Committee and we meet once a month at best. I think part of what we're seeing here is that we're basically saying, the town manager, starts the process by recommending the appropriate amount, and that comes to us as a Budget and Finance Committee. We're not making up the numbers because we really don't know what the appropriate numbers are, but then we review what he's saying, but ultimately it goes to the commission for approval. That is what I understand this process to be. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that's an
Yeah.
important comment.
Yeah, that's my understanding, John. So again, we are making recommendations. So we had this language in the October 17th meeting. We had a motion. We voted on the first 1A. Let me read and let's see if I can get a motion for 1B, which is to grant the town manager the authority to increase the fees and licenses for each line item up to 20% before commissioner intervention for each year. If I can get a motion to approve that recommendation to the town council.
I make the motion that we approve 1B the way it is written and as was proposed to us in the committee to put forward to the council.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, next item on the agenda is to discuss and possibly vote to provide recommendations to the town council regarding changes to parking regulations to increase revenue. Bill, if you want to talk a little bit about where we are, I believe a lot of this is with regard to continuing to further the town's mission of creating a safe environment for our visitors and our residents. And we've hired some additional police officers. So a lot of this is about how to make sure we are prudent in our funding and cover the expenses for those police officers. But if you want to give some more detail about parking and recommendations, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I appreciate it. Do we need to do public comment or no?
It's at the discretion of the chair if he would like to do it before we begin or just before they call the vote.
Yeah, why don't we do it? Go ahead, Bill, and then we'll do it before we call the vote.
Okay. So as inflation is going up, last year went up 8.7%. This year we're at about 3.7%. The COLA, the cost of living, the federal government is looking at this year is 3.2. So what I'm looking at is different ways to try to make the budget for next year. We can, look at things that we're going to do later, looking at possible expenses that we could cut. But I'm also looking at possible revenue streams to continue to operate the town and provide public safety services and provide just town services to the town. So some of the things that were that we looked at was parking, and there's parking with the hang tags, which impacts the property owners because they purchase the hang tags if they need them, if they have a driveway. Some of them they don't. And then some of our visitors that come down purchase the hang tags, and the businesses and their employees have to purchase hang tags. But before we look at those, I want to just look at the number of parking spaces that we actually have in town and look at different dates that we currently have parking. So we have approximately 1,459 parking spaces in town. And currently the season goes from May 15th to September 15th. We're looking at two things on just the parking dates. One would be it would start May 1st, which would go May 1st to the 15th. So we'd include those first days in May. Then the other one would go from the end September 15th to September 30th. And we looked at the revenue numbers for those. And we based this on a couple different things. We looked at the revenue numbers from May 15th to May, the end of May. And we have those numbers. And we looked at what the revenue was from September 1st to September 15th. And we realized that'll be less people on both ends when you do those comparisons. We also looked at a nearby beach community that also starts their parking on May 1st. Now, they only have 593 parking spots, but from May 1st to May 15th in 2022, with 593 parking spots, they brought in approximately $50,000. And then from September 16th to October 1st, they brought in approximately $90,000. Now that was with 593 parking spots. Of course, we have double that. We have over 1,400 parking spots. So I just throw that out there for the committee to consider. You know, I think last time we were in here, we talked about a little bit about parking. The commissioners talked a little bit about parking. There was some public opinion about a little bit more between May 1st and the 15th would be better than September 15th through September 30th. But I give you those numbers from the surrounding beach town just as approximate numbers that we could be looking at. And again, from May 1st to May 15th with 593 parking spots, it was approximately $50,000. And from September 16th to October 1st with 593 parking spots, it was approximately $90,000. Again, we have double those parking spots. We have over 1,400. So that would just be a consideration that I would hope the committee would look at for possibly raising revenue to help us keep up with inflation of around 3% this coming year. That, you know, will take in consideration our town employees' salaries, fuel, insurance, everything that goes up, just like if you're running a business or just like you're running your household. You know, services go up, your utilities go up, and the same things happen with the town. Things like those things to run the town go up. I can provide some other examples of other parking revenue that we looked at if the chair would like me to go into those.
Yes, unless there are questions by any of the committee members on the numbers so far presented. Okay, Bill, keep going.
All right, not hearing any. The other thing that Dewey does, it's kind of unique, and it is somewhat special, is that we have free nights Monday through Wednesday during the summer from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. And, you know, that's great. We have the movies that the chamber does down there. We have volunteers that come down and work that. And we get a lot of families that come to the movies and the bonfire, which is on Wednesday night. We get a lot of families down there also. My opinion is when the nights that I'm down there, it appears that a lot of those folks are walking. But we are giving up revenue from 5 to 11 on those 3 nights during the summer. And we looked at that, and it was part of the supporting documents that you have in front of you. And we looked at those, and, you know, each night would be 6 hours, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, for a total of 18 hours during a week that we are losing parking revenue. So if you look at the formula that we came up with 1,459 spots, we went through it and we looked, we looked at if you removed all those from free, or if you just removed 1 or 2, and we broke the numbers down there for you at a certain percentage. And if you see, because we know that not all 1,400 parking spots are going to be used during those 3 nights. So we said, you know, 25% of that, 50% of that, or 75% of that. And we actually broke that down. So when you go down and look at the revenue, if you remove one of the free evenings, you can see how much revenue that we actually have there at the 25%. It's over $100,000. And you can look at those numbers. If you remove 2 at the 25%, it's over 200,000. And if you removed all 3 at the 25%, again, this is the 25% of those parking spots, it's 341,000. And as you can see, if we limit it took 2 nights away, or we took all 3 nights away, how much we would actually go up in parking revenue. And I'm not suggesting that we take all 3 nights away. I'm not suggesting that at all. I think we need to look at the revenue needed to keep up with inflation and to run the town. So I think it's up to the committee to look at those numbers. We're going to be looking at a 3.2% probably increase in our overall budget. If our finance person Sheena is on the line, she could probably give us an approximate with our budget this year and what 3.2 would look like for next year. But I would like to think about possibly meterless Monday, and you could do the movies on Tuesday and the bonfire on Wednesday and still have those as nights where it's still free parking when you come to town. I mean, parking is only $3 an hour. Even if you kept the movies on Monday night, and let's say you drove in and you brought your family of four, and you came in and the movies start at dusk, which is about 8 o'clock, right around 8:30. And the movies are usually 2 hours. So if you paid for 2 hours of parking or 3 hours parking, you're going to see a movie for basically $9. The cost of it would be one person to just go out to go to the movie theater at Midway. So again, I would just like the committee to look at these numbers, give your thoughts on what you think. We laid them out in a certain order there, and you have the numbers in front of you. If the chair would like me to go on, I've got one more other possibility I could talk about also.
Sure, and then we'll circle back for comments and questions.
Okay. The other one would be increasing the parking in town by $1. Okay, that's one of the other things that we looked at. If we took the parking and increased it by $1, when you look at it, the total revenue would be an increase of about $272,000. There's normally an 11% fee that we pay for using Park Mobile. That would bring down some of that revenue to a final revenue around $242,000 if we raised it by $1 an hour. So that's just another thing to consider. Our surrounding beach communities are at $3 an hour. Lewis is actually, they have a longer parking season. Rehoboth and Bethany do not have a 3 nights between 5 and 11 where they give out free parking. So maybe to make up the difference, if nobody wants to change the dates, or nobody wants to give up the free parking on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, you go to an additional $1 an hour and keep the dates and all the free parking the same. So those are 3 different options that you could consider and look at. I throw that out there just as, for additional revenue for the town, to make sure that we are able to pay for our police officers, to make sure we are able to provide services to the community. And I'm open to any questions from the committee.
Paul, go ahead.
A quick question for me, just because I'm intimately involved with the chamber, is if you got rid of free parking on Mondays and Wednesdays, that might damage the relationship with the movies and the bonfires. Tuesdays, we used to do bonfires on Tuesdays. We don't anymore. So I think giving up possibly Tuesdays, because there is no event going on the beach, is a viable option. It's anybody comes into town is going to be going to dinner, going to go to a bar, going to go do their own personal things. So it's not a conflict of interest with what we're partnering with. And I don't know what the restaurants would think about extending the season 15 days on either side. I have no problem with it. I don't know if that would influence anybody. I think if you took away parking on Mondays and Wednesdays, free parking, you might impact people coming in for that. I don't know. I mean, if they don't see free parking for a free movie or a free bonfire, they might go away. So now you're losing a potential customer anyway that's going to spend money at pizza, ice cream, even if they walked here or drove here for free. But a possibility, I think your $4 is not out of line. And I think possibly Tuesdays going to, just having Mondays and Wednesdays for free is a potential with the numbers that we're given. Even the worst case scenario, only 25% of the spaces on the 1 day removed for free parking, 1,100 to 690 is a nice number.
Yeah.
And that's like worst case scenario.
My recommendation, just because it's meterless Mondays is kind of catchy, and I think it's easier for people to remember. I understand what you're saying. And then Tuesday, Wednesday would be free, and you could do the movies on Tuesday, and Wednesday would be the bonfire, and then Mondays would be, I'm sorry, I just misstated that. So it would be Mondays would be free and Tuesdays and Wednesdays we would charge. And so one of those nights, Monday would be we could remain with the movies and the other night for the bonfire. Or we could do, as you're saying, have Tuesday as the night that you would pay, and Monday and Wednesday would be the free nights.
I mean, that's all subject to everything else. I'm just saying, as a guy who does, you see me down there almost
Right.
every Monday, Wednesday, is, yeah, keep it free Monday, Wednesdays, and even boosting it, leave it at 3 for tests, go to 350, go to 4. I mean, those are numbers that Sheena and you and everybody else will have to hammer out and present, because there's a lot of data, but all the data that's presented here right now is wonderful. Just as someone who's there on the beach.
Right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think Mondays and Wednesdays are great. I think you could charge for Tuesdays. Just
Okay.
this is our time to throw forth our recommendations. That's what I would do.
Paul, do you have a comment? Paul, you're muted. You mute Paul. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Paul, you're muted.
How about now? Am I okay?
Yep.
All right. All right, Bill, I have 10 items. If you could help me out just so I can attach the numbers to it. So, one of the comments I hear all the time is that there's no parking in Dewey. Every parking spot is taken. I think we've all heard that one several times, but you're basing your analysis of May 1st to May 15th based on 25% of the parking spots being taken, correct? Bill Zolper?
Yeah, no, yes.
All right, so
5%.
so that's 25% of the spaces would generate 50K. Am I
Yeah.
right? Okay. And then the same thing, September 15th, the September 30th, you think that would generate 90K based on 25% of the spots being taken, not all of them being taken. Correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Going from $3 to $4, that would generate $240,000, you said?
Approximately 242, yes.
All right. So if we went somewhere less than that, let's say we did 50 cents, that would be 120,000.
Approximately, yes.
Okay. Now, we also have fees that we pay to the credit card companies, which have jumped up exorbitantly in the past bit of time here as well. So, I don't want to charge the fees that we're getting charged, but that's an expense that keeps going up. I'd rather move the parking that covers our expenses to handle that. So I guess what the committee should consider is maybe bumping it from 3 to 350 or bumping it from 3 to 4, whether we want to generate 120 or 240,000. Correct? We okay with how that's put together? Is everybody comfortable with how Bill has done that with 25% of the parking spaces used?
Seems conservative based on that,
Yeah.
but yes.
Okay. Now, Meterless Monday is something that I personally like because I think we want to do something to help our businesses, but giving away 3 days, and I look at every other of the 7 beach communities, no one else gives away any days. We give away 3. We give away almost half a week. I'm okay personally with, just doing like a Meterless Monday, but charging on Tuesday and Wednesday. And Zeke, if I could weigh in with you, of the number of people that come to the bonfires, would you say a majority of them are in town already, or are they commuting in to come to the bonfire?
The way I've seen it over the past 13 years is probably a third are here for hotels and rentals, a third come on the Jolly Trolley from Rehoboth, and a third drive that come actually in from the communities like Millsboro or just Milton, and just come down because they know of the movies and the bonfires.
Well, the movies are one thing, because I think that's more attended than a bonfire, correct?
No, they're about even because everybody comes for an exact finite period for the movie from 8:30 till about 10:30. They're there, give or take just before sunset. And the bonfires are kind of rotating. You might see 300 people at the movies all sitting in their chairs. You may only see 60 people around a bonfire if you walk down there at 6:30 in the afternoon. but you're going to see another 60 turnover in a half hour and another 60 turnover in a half hour.
So they come in at varying times,
So
yeah.
you're probably going to get the same amount of people from the movies as you do at the bonfire. You're just not going to see them at the concentrated 300 at once at a bonfire.
All right, so using that, back of the envelope calculation or just the general perception of it. So you're saying a third of them would be people that would pay for parking. So a third, so that would be 100, that would be 100 people. I would guess bonfires and movies, you probably have 2 or 3 to a car, right? I mean, I don't think we're parking 100 cars. We're maybe parking 50 cars or 25 cars, something like that.
I think McKinley, Dagsworthy, and Bellevue are the 3 biggest streets on both sides, Route 1, Bayside and Oceanside. So if you
Right.
use those parking spots.
So we're giving up, we want to keep the bonfires as an active event. Just, I think just attach it, is that worth, well, what are 6 hours? If I did, let's just say 30 cars park, we'll say 30 cars for argument's sake times 6 hours, or they wouldn't park for 6 hours. They would park for, we'll say 2 or 3, correct?
Probably 3. They're probably going to go to the bonfire and they're going to go get, pizza or ice cream.
So that would bring in, $9 per spot, times 30. So it's not a huge amount of money to give away Wednesday. Just something to consider, before we vote on it. Daily parking passes was another one I wrote down here, Bill.
Right.
Right now it's at 25, correct? And then it would be cheaper if let's say we moved to 350, it would be cheaper to have the pay for a meter than it would be to buy the daily pass, correct?
So it would be cheaper to buy the daily pass, if you were staying and coming into town for the full 8 hours. It'd be, right now, the daily pass is $25.
Right. As a potential area that commissioners could consider was maybe moving that up to $30, move it up $5.
Right.
What would moving it up $5 generate for us?
Good afternoon, all passengers.
That's another 100K.
It could be. I don't know. I don't have that right in front of me. I don't know if Sheena has that. If she doesn't,
And then it would be the same thing with a weekly. I think we're at 90. If we move that to 100, what would that generate?
How do people buy that? Is that through Park Mobile? Is that, do they come to the town hall?
They come into town hall or buy them. They can buy them online now too, right? Bill? Sheena?
Yeah.
So Paul, I think part of the calculus there is when they pay in the meters, if we're paying, I guess in the meters, technically, we're getting the full $1, $3 of that. If they're using the Park Mobile, we're only getting $2.67 after Park Mobile takes their 11% out.
Right. That's
So,
what I mean. I
yeah.
just think covering these fees that we're getting hit with from the banks for credit card transactions, I think that applies universally. And I think it's reasonable to consider. If nothing else, to present it to the commissioners and, they may, I don't know how the votes will come out on it, but it's something if we, we're trying to cover expenses, the new expenses that we're having, just the cost of doing business. So it's covering inflation. So I think it's reasonable to consider the $90 to $100. And Sheena, if you could tell us what that would generate, I think that gives us a good picture of where our recommendation should be at.
Okay, I just quickly pulled this up. Can you hear me, Paul?
I can hear you.
Okay, I just quickly pulled this up. Based on this summer's numbers, we had 485 of the weekend 3-day passes. And we had 630 of the 8-day $90 passes.
Wait, how many?
630.
630 of the daily
That is-
passes?
That was the $90 pass.
Okay, the weekly, okay.
Yeah, so just by upping that by the $10, we're getting $6,300.
Wait,
If
10
you up-
times 630?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if we up the weekend pass by $5, you're getting $2,425. So we're getting about almost $9,000 just by that little bit.
Now, how about daily passes? We have a lot of those, right?
There were 480, or the daily tests. Hold on. You got me on that one. I wasn't, let's see. The daily, there were 479.
And that's for the whole summer?
No, just off, that's not off the kiosk. That's just off of, I mean, that's not off of Park Mobile. That's just off the kiosks. There was more on Park Mobile because you can do the full day on Park Mobile. And I'm just getting this 45 just because I had the other numbers there.
I think we need to know total, like if we move 25 to 30, does that generate, including Park Mobile? Because I think it affects all of them, correct?
Correct, it will. I just didn't have that data pulled up at this second.
Okay. Yeah, if we could get that before the next meeting as a consideration for the commissioner, so they know what that dollar, if they said yes to moving up daily $5, and we say it's 479 times 5, $2,395,
Right,
for
and that's
$2,400, it's meaningless, correct?
Well,
But if it's,
when you don't have the Park Mobile numbers, that'll make it go up quite a bit.
I think we need to have those numbers.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
not a problem.
Okay. All right, well, do you think Park Mobile's 10 times this?
I'm pulling Park Mobile up right now as you speak.
Oh, wow. All right, that's quick.
But you gotta give me a couple minutes.
All right.
So, Mr. Chair, I think we have a couple different options here. We have the free nights, and you can limit that to just, one night that they would pay out of the 3. We could extend the parking season. We could keep everything the same and just raise overall parking by $1.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought I had a mute. Sorry.
Quickly on the extending the season, I just want to correct something I heard. The difference is if we extend back to May 1st is $50,000. If we extend to September 30th, it's $90,000. They're the same rate. What we're saying here is that there are more people here in September, which is a better time of year weather-wise. So we're seeing more parking in September than in May. But I look at this and I'm the amounts of 6,000 and 9,000 really don't grab my attention. I think we should be looking at, making changes that really bring some money in. I'm not, I now understand. Well, first, I would not be opposed to extending the season one way or the other. Clearly, if we go to September 30th, we're going to bring in more for those 15 days than we will if we extend May. Secondly, I never knew what the reasoning was behind the 3 free days. But and I think there is something to be said for meterless Mondays. And perhaps, we put movies on meterless Mondays and then, charge for the other 2 days. My thought is that I'm not really sure how many people come in. I think, and I have not been boots on the ground in the summer, but I have to imagine that a lot of people are walking to these things, and if not, if they're coming for a movie and they're going to have to pay, their car's going to be $9 for parking. That's still pretty good for 3 people to see a movie compared with Midway. So I'd have no problem getting rid of 2 of the 3 days and keeping the meterless Mondays, because it kind of has a ring, and we have it's a marketing thing as well. And then third, the $3 to $4 an hour. Yeah, I think we just have to see, where that goes. Perhaps we look at it as $3.50. But I think I'm more interested in the bigger deltas than a $5,000 or a $10,000 increase. Because the fewer increases we make that have significant impact will be more digestible by the public.
Well,
Thank
the
you.
way I'm looking up, sorry.
No, go ahead, Dominic.
I do think parking in Dewey is definitely a premium. I think we all can agree on that, what we were saying. The season, the way it is right now, what we do is if we run the risk, if we extend the season, we're cutting into restaurants who, might not otherwise be getting revenue. And that's a kind of a messy route to go. Parking's at a premium as it is right now. I say just keep it, the season the way it is, for the length that is, but increase the rates because people are going to pay. As terms of the free parking on the weekends or during the weekdays, I'm definitely advocating for that one. I think it's going to disproportionately affect local community members who are working at these restaurants and who are, lifeguarding at the beaches. It's not the normal folks that have the 9-to-5 jobs that are using that beach on the weekends. It's younger kids that are going to be out there on the skimboard camps on Monday nights. My girlfriend's a 4th grade math teacher at Rehoboth Elementary. I know a lot of her kids go to those movie nights. And, I'd rather not adjust that because it's kind of going to be affecting the character of the town, as opposed to, increasing the rates on the weekends when everyone's going to pay, whether it's $4 or $3. I don't think anyone's going to have that change in mindset. But on the, it starts getting messy though in May when it's 50 degrees and raining outside, or at the end of September for that matter. Changing those rates, it could sway a lot of business, unintentionally too. But it's just food for thought. So.
I have those numbers for Paul.
Okay.
All right. Daily going from 25 to 30. We'll start with that one.
Okay. Park Mobile, just those that paid exactly 25. There was 15,617. By upping that by $5, that's an additional 78,000. So between Park Mobile and the kiosk, you would have an additional $80,000 with a $5 increase on the daily.
All right.
Subtracting 11%?
11% on the
Park Mobile.
78,000. Yeah.
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 And just so who's buying the daily? Is it, people come to the beach daily.
15,000 people.
Yeah, no, but again, I'm very sensitive to the workers. How are the workers paying for parking?
I think a worker buys a seasonal pass. I doubt they would pay it by day.
Okay.
Because you buy a whole seasonal pass for $250. Why would you pay $30 a day? And if you worked in town more than 6 days, you're losing money.
I just want to make sure that we're because I recognize that that's an increased expense to them.
Right.
That's one of the areas I thought about increasing, but again, the people who are working there, I don't want to discourage them, and I don't want to make it difficult for any of the businesses to attract talent, to work in the restaurant. So if the daily parking's cool, that sets people coming to the beach for the day, families and whatnot, then I don't know that $5 can make a difference or not to them.
So an employee of a restaurant, if they come in and show the town their pay stub and prove that they work, the hang tag is $200 for the season.
Oh. Do you think the employees know that?
Oh, they know it. Yeah, they come in yeah, they're in all the time.
Okay.
They
That's
know
spread like wildfire.
Yeah, the 200 to 250, which would be the normal price.
Okay, good.
All right. And does anybody, Sheena, does anybody buy a weekly or a weekend on Park Mobile?
The system is not set up to do that.
Okay. So they can buy it daily.
Yes. Then
it's
add
all-
hours to it as they go along.
So if I added these up, and let's just say we didn't touch May 1st to September 3rd, we didn't touch either side of it. We can talk about that 140,000 there, but moving it from 3 to 350 would generate 120. And then if we added daily, making it 25 to 30, that would generate, what was it, 85,000?
When it's 78,
78 plus 2,500, right? 80,000. I mean, these are rough numbers. I mean, it's not an exact science we're doing here, but I think it gives us a good fee there. And then if we changed, we didn't touch the weekly or weekend. I mean, weekend is how much? Is that still $25 a day?
It says 45, I think, here. And just so I know, what is a weekend? Is that Saturday,
Friday,
AM
Saturday,
to-
Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
all 3 days? Okay. So Friday at whatever time we start, 11 a.m. or what time's the meters going on?
10 a.m.
So Sunday, 10 a.m. till Friday, 10 a.m. till Sunday night.
Yeah. And it's hard to believe that we only have 485 weekend purchasers of weekend passes. But it is what it is. All right, going back to the numbers here. So if we got 120 from changing it from 3 to 350, I mean, we can consider going to $4, but I'm trying to be, with minimum impact to the town. I'm putting my commissioner thought process on here. Kept meterless Mondays, got rid of Tuesday, would generate, how much did we say generates a night? We said,
So in one night at 25%, it was $111,000.
so, let's just say we got rid of Tuesday and Wednesday, we would make 200 grand.
If you removed 2 nights, you're at 223
At 25%.
at 25%.
25% of the spots on those nights.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, again, Paul, whether that's conservative or not, I mean, you said Tuesday at 50%, you got your same 222.
Well, I think a quarter of the parking spaces is a pretty conservative estimate.
I do too.
I do too.
Yeah, and then holidays, that's the other one that we talked about. I mean, we can eliminate holiday parking. 4th of July is going to fall on a Wednesday next year. I think that, I don't know if we should give away parking during holiday weekends, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and 4th of July. I don't know, does that confuse the public too much? That's something for commissioners to decide if it confuses the public. I guess we should make the signage.
I think it does, just as a guy that, drives through the towns and sees what goes on in the other place. When your sign gets to be this long of telling you what you can and can't do for
Yeah,
parking versus Monday or Wednesday or 15th of May to the 15th of September, a short, quick, concise point is what everybody's looking for. And you just say, well, we've got all this stuff online. Nobody's going to look online to read 3.5 pages of, can I park here? How much does it cost to park here? What day of the week is it? What time of the day is it?
yeah, that's true.
To the point.
Hey,
And then-
Bill. Oh, sorry,
Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead, Paul. No, go ahead.
The other one is there was a suggestion made of moving, we start parking at 10 a.m. What do we generate if we make it 9 a.m. or 8 a.m.? I think that affects the dog walkers in the morning.
In the 5Ks on Sunday mornings, so we'd have to work around that.
5Ks on, yeah, those, yeah. I don't know if that's worth considering. Yeah, that definitely affects those races in town. And I think those races bring in a lot of people.
Bill, what are we solving for? So if we're thinking about 3 officers, I mean, is that really sort of the incremental cost that we want to make sure that we're prudent in the budget and being able to cover?
Yeah, so that and any cost of inflation and just the cost of doing business in the town, which is about, we're figuring about 3.2 to 3.5%.
Yeah. Because, I mean, again, just sort of taking what Paul had here, if you went from 3 to 350, 120, taking the daily up 25 to $30, 80,000. In my mind, just having Monday as meterless Mondays, I like that. So you would still charge for, still be free on Mondays, charge for Tuesday, Wednesday, $220,000. So you're at $320,000 there. I mean, that bill seems to be a pretty substantial increase that should be able to help cover some of the inflation and additional officers.
Yes, I agree.
And I think you're conservative on the 25%. I'm hoping that number turns out to be higher. And again, Zeke, I don't know. I didn't get any more comments by you before I start talking.
May I have your attention, please?
Say
Harry,
again.
who is greeted.
See, I didn't know if you had anything else, Zeke, to say before I.
No. I did mine at the beginning, and I just
Okay.
enjoyed sponging, soaking all this up. So
Okay. So like, again, I think, I don't know what the impact is if you go to $4. So, sort of splitting the number in half there to go to 350 feels good to me. We can always look at that, see what the impact is on business and whatnot. And we have the option to revisit that charge. I'm in favor of the daily, moving that up. And like I said, I like meterless Mondays. And therefore we would charge on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. With regard to the season, I would personally keep the season where it is, and that may be a tool in our toolbox that we can use later on. And the hours of the day, I think, again, that's something we can look at. I think these three changes could put $320,000 into the annual budget. And I'd like to see how that plays out, and then we can go back and revisit these or add others. That's my opinion.
At all times. DFA.
Now, I think from the committee's perspective, I mean, you can recommend all of these to the commissioners. You can take each of these items and say, hey, this is what you can, these are things that I think you should consider. This is what the committee likes. These are the 3 or 4 or 5 or 1, whatever number that you really like that you would be in favor of, the committee moving forward with. So that's up to you to deliberate and discuss. I just wanted to, throw in my liaison side of this thing and, let you recommend whatever you like on it, and let's see where it goes. We want to get it on the December agenda so we can vote on it and get it into next year's budget if that's the case.
And any other committee members meeting questions or comments before we open to public?
Nope.
Dominic, Zeke, you guys good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Iris, I think you had a comment that you wanted to make from the public.
Hi, yes, hi everybody. Just a couple of things. One thing I notice about the weeknight parking is a lot of people. I sit there, and Bellevue is always a crowded street. There's never anything, and I'm always answering questions. And people come in really typically are prepared to pay, and they're surprised that it's free. So I don't think people will care that much about that. And then the other thing I wonder is, we've had a lot of trouble, it seems, in the spring with like just huge influxes of people and, younger people and fighting and this and that. And then when the season happens, it all seems, and the parking goes in, it all seems to go away. And likewise, we have a lot of problems sort of late at night. And I wonder if there's a way to have a, like Uber charges extra parking certain hours, is there peak hour parking rates for, maybe, Friday and Saturday nights or something that might generate revenue and maybe discourage people that are just coming to hang out in the parking lot and smoke weed and do whatever. And I know that makes things complicated, but just an idea, because we'd really rather people Uber in. The bars, there's lines all spilling into the street. So I don't see that it's not the whole season necessarily. Or maybe it's a premium in the evenings on holidays, but just throwing it out there. Again, perhaps an impractical suggestion, but it could have other benefits. And that's it.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. We have any other?
Yeah,
public
good points.
Mr. Deegan wants to make another point.
Okay.
Just two questions. On the very first fact sheet, it says 5/15/23 to 5/31/23. Are those dates supposed to be 2023? You've got right down the right 2022.
Yeah, so on one side, it says, let me double check, it says 23, and on the other side, it says 22. So what we did is we took both 2022, yeah, they should. One of them should be 2023, as it says at the top, and then you flip it over and it's 2022.
Okay, so when the 2023 dates, all those
Yeah.
dates should be 2023. It was not simply a duplicate of. Right, okay. The second thing is what town has 593 spaces?
Lewis.
Yeah. Any other public comment? All right. So Paul, I don't think I have a specific recommendation, with regard to the committee versus saying that, from my perspective, I'd like the committee, the town council rather, to review the parking opportunities, the current charges, and assess opportunities for change in order to, have the dollars for the budget. With regard to preferences, again, not to put this on the other people, I'm just giving where I am right now. But on the preferences, again, I would be in favor of the 3 increases, so 3 to 350, the daily change, and then the change to have Monday being the only day that's free, so meatless Mondays. That's a concept I like to put forward. I mean, other comments from the committee members, and we can try to figure out how to create that as a motion.
Before we do that, this is a question for Bill Zolper. Should we include the discussions of expense reductions, or is that going to be a separate line item?
That's actually next, I think, on the agenda. Discuss and possibly vote for recommendations regarding town expenses.
Okay, but that'll be a separate line item. So keep it the way you have it, Dan.
Okay. So, John, did you have something?
No, I'm okay with what you're suggesting there, the 3 changes, and we'll hold extension of the season either way in reserve.
Dominic or Zeke?
Nope, at least there's a proposal out there that they can talk to and massage.
Yeah, I'm with them. I still don't like removing the free parking on the weekdays, but the other things are fine with me.
Okay. So I believe the motion will be that we make a recommendation to the town council to review the existing parking fees and structure. Have them review that. I guess I'll end it right there. And then there is a preference by the Budget and Finance Committee for support for increases from $3 to $3.50 for the hourly rate, an increase in the daily rate from $25 to $30, and removal of Tuesdays and Wednesdays as free parking. That would be the motion, and that I would like to see if people could support, and if so, make a motion to vote on that.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you.
So who was the motion on it in a second? You got that, Kate?
Gephardt on the motion.
Zeke on the second.
Dominic, did you vote?
I was going to technically say no to it, but I don't think that actually matters.
Well, we want it in the minutes.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
everyone,
in the minutes.
I'm not telling you what you have to do, but we want to put it on the minutes if you were yay, nay, or abstain.
Technically nay, but only just because of the weekday parking. But other than that, yeah.
Okay. Kate, you got that?
All right.
All right. Last item on the agenda is to discuss and possibly vote to provide recommendations to the town council regarding new revenue streams for the town. I'll kick this off a little bit. I think we talked about this a little bit last time, and I don't know if there's an answer. My question was on, with the new legislation that apparently now allows for speed cameras. I'm sorry, there's so much background here. Speed cameras and for violators to be ticketed. If we know where the money flows. I think, Bill, you said you don't know where the money would flow yet, or it hasn't been decided yet.
So the legislation has passed. The towns will be able to have speed cameras. The rules on the actual use of the speed cameras and how they'll be used has not passed yet. So it's coming. It's just not ready to be put out yet.
Okay, and I'm in favor of the speed cameras just because, again, from public safety point of view, we have a posted speed limit, and when I talk to the state trooper that sits out on 1A, he tells me the average speed he observes is about 45 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and that's just not safe for anyone trying to cross over.
I also think it's a great revenue generator. Having seen the revenue it generates around here up in Baltimore. One other thing in terms of police, the most dangerous situation police are involved in is actually traffic stops. And so that not making those traffic stops, but instead letting a camera video the motor vehicle at the rate they're speeding, actually will provide time for our officers to be engaged in other town enforcement efforts, public safety efforts, and prevent them from having to do the thing that is the most dangerous thing for a police officer to do. I say that having been a former federal prosecutor.
Well, any other discussion? I don't know that we need a vote or anything, just discussion.
Question I have for you for revenue streams is, as we're talking about, and I'm going to do this because I don't recall the rules of it, but the beach tax we have is set aside for the beach replenishment. No ifs, ands, buts, or anything about it. That's a dead thing. The interest that we generate on that, is that possible that can be construed and used, or does it already earmarked for other things, or does that just roll over into the beach tax?
So, and Sheena can help me out with this. Some of it that is in Fulton Bank is doing one thing, and the other part of it that's with Brown Advisory Group, which is our investment group, is doing some other things. So it's kind of split between those two. Sheena, anything else on that?
The interest that is generated rolls back into it. But we do get the more, I don't know how the interest on the investments rolls, but I know the cash in Fulton does roll.
Well, that's my question, and I don't know the answer. I know I've talked to Commissioner Bauer kind of, just over a beer or something over it, but is it possible that the money generated from the interest of the beach tax can be used as a revenue source, not touching the principal? Because we always increase the beach tax every year because everybody has to pay their tax in January, whatever it is, or whenever it comes due. But is the interest we get off of it, is that usable for the town, or does it have to go, because interest is being made on the beach tax, go right back into the beach tax?
I just know a certain part of it is in Brown Advisory, correct, Sheena? The other one is in Fulton.
We would have to, what the gentleman is asking is, can we use it for any other, the interest? Does it have to follow the same policies as the principal?
True.
To know that, we would have to look at what it says in the charter or code or.
Yeah, that was my question, because if we can't, that's but if we're going to be able to generate $10, $20, $30, $50,000 a year in interest on $6 million or whatever we have in there, that's a chunk of change that, if it doesn't have to go back into the beach tax, it's something to look at. If it says in the charter, and nope, can't do it, well, okay, we can't do it. I just figured I'd ask the question, so.
I think it's a great question for the commissioners or whoever else might be able to give some guidance on that.
All right. Bill, do you want to go through our top expenses? I mean, there's a lot of expenses that aren't listed here because there's really nothing we can do with it. You know, from like salaries, I don't think anybody on budget and finance wants to say, hey, let's downsize. And I don't know, maybe, but they weren't included in it. We can obviously put those things in there if you really wanted to review them, but things that we have an opportunity to touch. And that's what Sheena put together for us here. So thank you, Sheena. Bill, do you want to go through each of these items there to see what the committee can consider here?
Yeah, as Commissioner Bauer stated, so you can see the most expensive one on there is the insurance, our law enforcement liability insurance, which is very high and it's harder and harder to get. The more incidents that a town will have with their police department, those incidents, of course, come up every year, and every year when we have to try to get insurance for our police department, that causes our insurance to go up. So you can see what the numbers are there so far this year. And then you have the legal fees for our town attorney and some other legal fees that we're involved in right now. Then you see the IT. So the IT software, which is approximately $79,000. When we had our audit, the auditor said, your security for your IT is not where it should be at that time. And that was about a year ago. So since then, our town clerk has been working very hard with a vendor called SecureNet to update our IT, firewalls, a bunch of different things that the town was way behind on. And we could have been exposed to somebody actually getting in and hacking into our system. That eventually will go down. That will decrease that $79,000 as we continue to upgrade. Once we hit a certain security measure, it will go down and level off. It'll never just go away. It'll level off because somebody's building a better way to get into your system, and we've got to counter it, and we've got to purchase those measures. Out of everything that's on here, if you wanted to really look at what we may be able to cut, and what I'm hoping we can cut, would be the bank and credit card fees that you see on there, which are approximately $43,000. Some of the towns are passing those fees along actually to the consumer. Some of the other beach towns are doing that right now. And we are also looking at an RFP that we are putting out to maybe look at another bank besides the current bank, Fulton Bank. We're going to put that out and have the banks in the community all bid on it and see which one would lower the fees for us to give us the best return on our banking credit card fees. When I got here, we were doing a lot of things manually. We had a dial up in our front office. We had a bunch of things that needed to be updated, and they were updated. So we try to do everything now by credit card instead of carrying a lot of cash and accepting checks. But in turn, they are charging us those fees. So we're hoping with the RFP we could bring that down. The other one you see is the special event payroll, which is for our police officers. Those are 4th of July, Memorial Day weekend, St. Patty's Day weekend, Labor Day weekend. When we get the large crowds into town, we have to bring in outside agencies. We go from a town of normally during the summer, maybe 23 to 20,000 people on a weekend. On those big weekends, we go up sometimes to 35 to 40, and on 4th of July during the fireworks. I mean, there's just a huge amount of people in town. We have to have those extra officers here. But I will say, with the hiring of the 3 extra police officers, that will bring that number down somewhat. But we're still going to be spending money for the special events. I'm open to answer any questions from the committee on the expenditures that we have listed here.
Hey, can I weigh in? So bank and credit card fees at 43,000. So that's 11% goes to Park Mobile. So essentially raising our 50 cents, most of that's getting covered. And, I mean, it's a cost that we're eating today. And I know when I go to Rehoboth and I put my credit card in one of the the meters there, I pay my $3 an hour, I pay for 2 hours, it's $6.50, because they hit me for 50 cents while I'm there. That's probably what they're doing up there, I'm guessing. Is that common for towns to, absorb those costs?
Some of the towns are starting to put those costs back on the consumer. Right now, we are, we're taking in those costs. We're actually taking a loss on those. We're eating that, yes.
Yeah. This IT hardware at $79,900 or $80,000, what do you anticipate that coming down this year? Does that come down 10,000? Does it come down more or less?
It will come down. I think we've hit our peak on the spending for the IT hardware to update our security. I can't tell you how much it's going to come down, but I don't know if Kate, you have any comments on that? You're working with the IT folks on it.
Yeah, we just kind of did major updates on all of our hardware. So it was kind of one big, I hate to call it a spending spree, but it was like, let's, upgrade everything that we need, anything that we're being advised to upgrade or replace, we did. I think, and Sheena could tell me, I would assume that our AV upgrades were also included in that.
Yes, they were, as well as the admin software, all the software that we use to run the town is included in that.
Okay, so definitely the AV upgrades were another biggie that was not part of SecureNet, obviously, but necessary upgrades here to continue running hybrid meetings. Was no way around that. So that was all a considerable expense over the past year, those two things combined.
Okay. Thanks, Kate. So trash, beach and town cans, that's a big number. In good conscience, I don't think I just no way I could support saying, hey, we're not going to pick up trash anymore in town. I think that's something that's a must. It's not a boy, we really like to have trash picked up. I think it's a must that we have that. Is that maybe another bid situation that could be looked at? What do we have a contract on that for a little bit?
So we have a contract with GFL on that right now for the town public trash cans that you see at all the dune entrances from the street side, the cans that you see out on Route 1, and on the bay side, the cans that you see towards the end of the street. GFL's contract's up in 2025, and we will be putting out an RFP.
Okay.
Before we got here, they had put out an RFP, and GFL was the only one that bid on it.
All right. Beautification is one that, if the committee wants to undertake this, do you think we spend too much money on that? Or, I'm happy with the way the town looks, but if we're looking to drive costs down, beautification would be something I guess you guys could consider. Training for officers and training for certifications for administrative folks. I think that's just that's a must have. Is there any ones that we could really even consider eliminating there, Bill?
Not for the police officers, the ones that are required, they're going to continue. And then, we should show that we're going above and beyond for our police officers. Any profession, you don't want to stay at the standard, the minimum. You always want to go above the standard. So our officers are highly trained. For our administrative folks, I think, that's all our administrative folks attending that training. So I'm not sure what we could cut there. Street lights.
It's not a big number, but
No, yeah.
Street lights and signs. So there was an agreement with DelDOT, back in the early 80s when the town was incorporated, that we would be responsible for the street lights and the maintenance of the street lights and the paying for the electricity. So all the street lights going down Route 1, the double lights that are in the center island, the town is responsible for maintaining those. So when the eye goes out on them that tells them to come on when it's dark, we have to replace those. We don't have the equipment to replace those. We have to have Apple Electric come in and replace when we have problems with the bulbs. When we have somebody that runs into one of those and we're trying to get them their insurance to pay for that, we end up paying the bill up front for a new pole to be installed with the electrician to come out. And then, we're trying to get their insurance company from the accident to come back and repay those. So I know that's only 18,000, but I don't see that being cut.
The one question I have for the credit card fees, are those a flat rate per transaction? Or is that a percentage of what was put on the credit card? If we were thinking of possibly removing the town soaking that up and moving it.
For the credit card fees that we incur through online purchases of dog licenses, business licenses, whatever, and the ones when someone comes in house, that is a flat rate per transaction. Park Mobile is a percentage of it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So by raising our parking rates, we'll also be reducing we'll be at least covering some of these fees. Hopefully covering them all, but we'll see how that goes. I don't really see anything. I mean, this is all up for discussion, but some of the other big expenses, I mean, raking the beach, I'm not sure anybody would be in favor of eliminating that. I think that needs raked. We got to keep the town looking in tip top shape. So there's expenses that, I guess if we were in dire need of money, we could undertake some of that. Lifeguards at every street. I mean, that's expensive. I think we could, if we were in dire straits, we could say, hey, we can do them every other street, but I think that makes people unhappy and makes guests uncomfortable. So, and the same thing with police. I mean, I think we've all come to a pretty good agreement from a commissioner standpoint is, we have to prioritize public safety, but there's an expense for public safety. And I got to commend the chief and Bill here for the great job they've done professionalizing the departments there to get stuff done. And, it's looking good. And, they're doing a good job with it. So we want to keep it going. But this is all up for discussion. Anybody want to undertake any of the items there for some cuts?
I think, like I say, about the only thing I can think is credit cards, having to possibly roll that over to the customer, or at least part of it, maybe. I don't know. All the other things that we spoke about that you touched on and Bill touched on, like you say, the cost of doing business sometimes is you got to spend money to make money.
Right.
And public safety and not beautification, but, keeping the beach rate, things like that. Got to do it.
Everything else, legal ads. I mean, we have to advertise the meetings and things like that. I don't see anybody would have an appetite to get rid of the liability insurance. I think that would be crazy. Legal fees, Fred, we use you enough, right?
I don't know if he's here anymore.
Oh, he jumped off.
Yeah.
We're saving money. He jumped off.
See, it's already going down. Look at that.
I'm still here, guys.
Okay.
So, all right. I don't have anything more to say on it.
Chair, there is some public comment if nobody else on the committee has anything else to say. Mr. Dean.
Yeah, then let's have the public comment. Yeah.
Jim Deegan again. We've seen it went from 1 to, and then we just went directly from 3 to 4 without public comment as far as additional revenue streams. With these new town hall, the infrastructure needs on, where is the committee headed to get funds for those projects? And again, it appears that we are passing all these fees off to our neighbors rather than the town folk. The second thing is, I just want to clarify that when I pay for Park Mobile, those credit card fees are not paid by the town. The town's paying me 11% to use Park Mobile, so they're not getting charged an additional credit card fee when I use Park Mobile to park. Could someone please clarify that?
So for the infrastructure in the town hall, so a certain percentage every month of, correct me if I'm wrong, Sheena, building permits and parking go into the infrastructure fund. That happens automatically. It goes in. Currently, the infrastructure committee recommended to spend $60,000 on Reed Street for the outfalls. That's been recommended to the commissioners. That'll be heard this Friday. And $141,050 to be spent on relining the pipes in what we call phase 2, which is from Rodney Street south to Collins Street. So there is money there to pay for those projects.
There is money there for those projects.
Currently, yes, yes. And then for the new town hall, we have a $3 million grant from the state. We have approximately $2.2 million that the commissioners have committed to the new town hall. And then we're working with the county because we want to have county EMS in the building. $1 million from the county to have their folks in there. That gets us up to about 6.2 million. And the town hall is going to be, as of right now, around 7 million, 7.2 million. So we are $1 million in there that we are going to either have to take a loan. We do have a request out with Senator Coon's office for the public safety side, which would pay a certain amount for the police department, but that's not guaranteed. We also have with Senator Coon's office $1 million grant for the end of Reed Street to look at putting in a possible pump station, but that may or may not be approved when it goes through Congress for the FY25 funding. So those are the answers for infrastructure and for the town hall. And for the 11% that you asked about, I would ask Sheena if Mr. Deegan is correct. 11% is the service fee that is being charged by Park Mobile. You're on mute, Sheena.
Sorry, yes, it is a service fee. However, anything that is processed is through our website, through in-house. If someone comes in with a credit card, we are charged a fee from the bank.
That answers my question. So we're not double billed for 11% and credit card.
Right.
And so then how do you propose?
Really, you're supposed to come up to the mic.
You have to come up to the microphone. The public can.
They can hear you and it's recorded.
Being $1 million short, then how is the committee addressing that project that's coming up in the near future as far as for additional revenue streams? Is there any thought about passing some of those costs on to the actual people in the town?
I can weigh in from the marketing committee perspective. Mr. Deegan, I don't know if you're aware, the marketing committee's met several times on some fundraising ideas where we're going to solicit some donations from the people in town. It's purely voluntary, but they have some pretty creative ideas that are getting presented to the commissioner shortly. So, I don't know what the end result's going to be, but they're, actively trying to come up with raising funds. So we'll be happy to take donations from everyone and everybody.
I mean, as the town manager and looking at the new town hall and police station and knowing how much we really need a facility that would meet accreditation for the state, especially for our police department. That's going to be very important when the state, we feel, is going to pass legislation saying all police departments have to meet the state accreditation. Right now, our police department does not meet that. Also, to have our employees work in a building that isn't constantly having issues with dampness and mold, the way the building was built, and we are outgrowing our building. And for the town to come up with $6.2 million if the county provides that $1 million, I think that's pretty good considering that there isn't a property tax, a town property tax. Most towns that I'm aware of, they would just raise the property tax and do fundraisers as Commissioner Bauer. But we're trying to do that, trying to build the town hall without raising or even, going to the citizens of town and saying you have to pay a town hall police station impact fee of this much over a duration for that $1 million. And then once it's paid off, at this point, we're not asking for that. It may come down the road. It may be something that the Budget and Finance Committee, that may be recommended from the commissioners back to the Budget and Finance Committee to look at. But right now, that hasn't been proposed.
Sorry, guys. Okay. Anything else? Any other conversations or around this? So Paul, I don't know that we actually end up with a motion or any other formal recommendation. Versus just participating in the discussion, you can pass along.
I mean, you can pass along that, you think there's a few areas the town can consider, some cost saving measures and pick the categories that was there.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. They're calling my flight down there, so I've got to run. So any other comments or any other public comments before I ask for a motion to adjourn?
I got none.
Okay. Anyone else out there in terms of public? Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
I move that we adjourn a meeting.
Second?
Hey, thanks, guys. This was almost 2 hours tonight, so thanks for hanging in there.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I can't say enough thank you for being on these committees. I know it takes away from your job and it takes away from your time. So thank you so much for being on the committees.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Take
Thanks.
care, guys.